Welcome, operatives, to the Corporate Files Lab. Casefile 017. Today's intelligence briefing: the algorithm empire. Picture a global takeover, but completely scrub the history book version of that from your mind. Forget the standard imagery. There are no tanks rolling across borders. There are no fighter jets scrambled at dawn. In the era of Pax Silica, they don't invade with standing armies anymore. They invade with code. It is a completely different architecture of power, one that totally bypasses traditional borders and sovereign checkpoints. We are looking at a world where algorithmic bias isn't just a frustrating software glitch. It is actively deployed as a silent weapon. Picture an encrypted server farm humming in the dark, stretching for acres across a desert, while an anonymous worker thousands of miles away labels the behavioral systems that will eventually dictate her life. This is the quiet, invisible erosion of national sovereignty happening deep inside the cooling aisles of a data center. If you're listening to this on a smartphone, your device is an active node in this power struggle. We have sifted through a mountain of global intelligence, from the International Monetary Fund and Chatham House to environmental investigations and academic studies on labor extraction. The unified story is chilling. Tech giants are aggressively harvesting data and labor from the global south, creating massive digital dependencies and rewriting the rules of global power. Data is the new oil. Nations that lose control of their digital infrastructure or fail to secure sovereign AI capabilities face severe economic subordination, job displacement, and the total loss of self-determination. This is about who actually gets to govern in the 21st century. Analysts tracking the geopolitical landscape of April 2026 refer to this epoch as Pax Silica, the Silicon Peace. But make no mistake, it is not a peace in the traditional sense. Power is no longer derived from territorial control or fossil fuel reserves, but from the ownership and governance of the artificial intelligence stack. AI has transitioned from an experimental frontier into the foundational infrastructure of human civilization. It is the new electricity. If you don't have it, you are shut out of the modern economy. The IMF's 2026 AI Preparedness Index, or AIPI, paints a terrifying picture of this exclusion. Advanced economies average a score of 0.68, while low-income countries languish at a devastating 0.32. A 0.32 score isn't just a statistic, it means systemic exclusion. It means a hospital in Nairobi cannot run a diagnostic model because the local grid has rolling blackouts, or the cloud latency to a server in Virginia times out. It means the data the model was trained on doesn't even recognize local demographics. To achieve baseline participation in this economy, Sub-Saharan Africa requires an investment of $418 billion, roughly 4.5% of its entire annual GDP. In contrast, advanced economies only need to spend 0.02% of their GDP for similar maintenance. This massive gap traps developing nations as perpetual consumers of technologies built in the global north, rather than creators of their own reality. This trap is built on four massive asymmetries. The first is data asymmetry. The global south possesses a wealth of data, diverse languages, cultural practices, and informal economies generating billions of transactions. But this raw material flows entirely outward, scraped and commodified by northern tech platforms. This is data colonialism. The south provides the raw experience but has zero agency in shaping the algorithms built from it. The second is compute asymmetry. Training frontier AI models requires vast clusters of GPUs housed in high-density data centers, hardware that is aggressively bottlenecked in the US, China, and a few wealthy allies. The third is research asymmetry. Even though there are brilliant minds everywhere, the brain drain is accelerating. Africa needs 23 million STEM graduates by 2030, yet currently only 9% of its youth have foundational computer skills. Finally, there is governance asymmetry. The rules for AI safety, privacy, and fairness are being written in the north, often completely overlooking the lived realities of the majority of the human population. It's like being invited to a global potluck dinner where you farm all the ingredients, but someone else owns the kitchen, uses proprietary recipes, and charges you at the door just to eat the food you grew. We have been told technology is neutral, that Python code has no agenda. The research dismantles this fiction. Infrastructure is deeply ideological. Every engineering decision, what language data is prioritized, whose cultural interests are served, what safety filters are applied, encodes a value judgment. When a nation adopts a foreign AI stack, it is importing a moral operating system. This system enforces trust assumptions, legal frameworks, and cultural biases at machine speed, without a single vote from a local parliament. The cloud isn't weightless. It is grounded in dirt, steel, and water. It is an aggressive, invasive species that reroutes local resources to meet its metabolic needs. Global AI electricity demand is projected to double to 1,000 terawatt-hours by 2030. A single hyperscale data center can consume as much constant power as 100,000 homes, but the thirst for water is even more alarming. In Texas alone, data centers could consume 399 billion gallons by 2030, the equivalent of draining Lake Mead by 16 vertical feet in a single year. Silicon chips course with immense electrical current, and if that heat isn't removed, they melt. Companies use evaporative cooling because it's cheap, but it turns water into vapor that's permanently lost to the local watershed. Even using reclaimed wastewater is a zero-sum game. That water never makes it back to the river to support local agriculture. It's like dropping a giant soda straw into a basin and sucking it dry. The leftover wastewater, or blowdown, is often a toxic brine of salts and minerals. This appetite for power has made energy the primary bottleneck of the AI industry, leading to the on-site, off-grid thesis. Tech giants are abandoning overstressed public grids to privatize nuclear baseloads. Microsoft's 20-year agreement to reopen the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant is the landmark example of this shift. This heavy industrial reality hides behind the sleek interface of your chatbot. The physical footprint extends to the bottom of the ocean, where 597 subsea fiber-optic cables carry 99% of all intercontinental traffic. These garden-hose-thick strands are the literal backbone of the global economy. In 2026, they have been permanently securitized. Cutting a cable no longer just buffers your video. It severs a nation's AI capabilities, paralyzing its defense and economy. The U.S. Strategic Subsea Cables Act of 2026 establishes military deterrence and sanctions against state entities that intentionally damage this infrastructure. While some European agencies, like the Finnish intelligence service, warn against threat inflation, the anxiety is real. For a country like Taiwan, these cables are a prerequisite for functioning as a democracy in the face of a blockade. If the cables go dark, the country goes offline. Beneath this physical and digital infrastructure lies a hidden human workforce, the ghost army of AI. This is the great illusion of automation. AI models don't learn in a vacuum. They rely on heteromation, the extraction of value from cheap, computer-mediated human labor. Millions of workers in the global south painstakingly annotate images, label sentiment, and conduct brutal content moderation to train the algorithms. Tech firms outsource this work through middleman platforms to maintain clean hands, while exploiting extreme wage arbitrage. A data annotator in Kenya might make $1.32 to $2 an hour for the same cognitive work that pays $20 in the US. These workers are classified as independent contractors with zero job security or healthcare, subject to unrelenting algorithmic management. They can be deactivated, fired by a piece of code instantly. The final turn in this loop of data colonialism is the deployment of these finished models back into the countries that trained them, often through digital debt. AI-driven fintech platforms, pitched as tools for financial inclusion, frequently lead to inescapable debt cycles. They use machine learning to extract every possible cent from marginalized populations, financializing life itself. The very systems workers sacrifice their mental health to train are ultimately used to govern and extract from them. We are living in an empire of code where sovereignty is traded for latency, and power is hidden in the cooling towers of a desert server farm. The algorithm empire does not need to declare war. It has already written the rules of your surrender into the operating system of the world. Casefile closed. The bigger the empire, the harder the fall. Stay ahead of the curve. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your intelligence analysis in the comments. Your contribution is vital to this lab. New briefings available every Saturday. I'm Tony. You've been listening to Corporate Files Lab, briefings on AI, business, and geopolitics.